What is up, Retromaniacs? My name's Mike. His name's Joe. His name's EP. We're here to talk about cards. This week, we thought it'd be fun to do a Q&A from the viewers of the channel. We asked them for a couple weeks here to give us questions, and we will give them our answers honestly, openly. We will be straight with all of you.
The straight dirt.
First question comes from longtime viewer and stack sale buyer, Paul Ellison. He asks, I know all of you met at Mike's card shop, but could you share a story of meeting each other for the first time and first impressions of the card shop? I think I'll leave you two to answer this one because, just shine me up here. Make me look good.
All right, so I've told this story before, and I'll tell it quickly, but anytime I get a chance to wax poetic about my grandmother, I will do it. Graham was awesome. She was awesome. God rest her soul. But when I was a kid, I used to live at their house over summers, and when she would have to go grocery shopping for the week's worth of groceries, she would give me like $20, which back in 1990 was like $1,000 now. I mean, you could buy so much with $20. She would give me $20 and tell me to go into the card shop, which at the time was the sports page, which was Mike's rival card shop. She would send me there. I'd buy cards for like an hour or whatever, and then she would pick me up. One day we came through, and I don't know if they were closed for a reason or if we went on a different day, but they were closed. And she was like, well, here are your options. You either go into this other card shop or you go grocery shopping with me. So I said, and I was an introverted kid. I was very, very shy, which is shocking, shocking to people now. But she gave me $20. I went into Mike's. He opened up a pack of Star Trek cards, pulled a Captain Kirk hologram. I was mesmerized. So I never went back to the sports page unless it was to spy on him a little bit for fun. But that was my first impression of Mike. The shop was like, I've always said, it's like a record store at a corner, not an FYE. For those of you who get that reference, it wasn't like dirty or anything. It was just like a card shop, a 90s card shop. And my first impression of EP was, man, this guy's going to be really good at fantasy football. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I was wrong on that account.
You were right.
Was I right?
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Totally.
Okay.
But like trophies back here behind.
No. I meant EP.
Oh, EP was gonna be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my first.
Totally right about that. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. No. But the first time I think I really remember meeting EP was when we started our fantasy football league back in 1996. So he went into the shop before then, but that is the first time I remember meeting EP, and we've been in that league ever since.
I think there were times when I was in the shop and you were in the shop, but I don't think we really like met and interacted until the fantasy football league. The fantasy football league really grew, like all of our relationships with the other people that were in the shop, like a ton.
That we still have to this day.
It really like elevated everything. But I do remember the first time that I met Mike, and I'm like 13, 14-year-old kid. Here's this college kid. Like at that point, you're just fresh out of college.
Yeah.
Running a card shop. He had all the cards. He had unopened boxes, and then I went there with my dad. And like we had been going to a couple other shops in the area. There's one in Shamokin and a couple other places, but this was the place. And I ended up working in Danville at the Weiss Markets like a year later. But like to walk in, here's this college kid, excuse me, doing like a dream job type thing for me, and he's a cool dude. And I'm like, this is
okay. That's okay. So. I mean, I thought he was cool too, but then you get to know him, and you're like, he's a nerd like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was so crazy.
But I was the king of the nerds. Though.
Yeah, nerds are.
I was the guy.
All Chris
nerds look up to, which
nerds are cool to other nerds. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't specifically remember like the first time when you came in, EP. Like I remember like a lot of interactions, but I can't remember the specific. But one thing I do remember is Joe, like my dad and I saying, wow, that kid's nerdy. And we're right.
You're 100% right. And then but it's weird like looking back at that, like this introverted shy guy, and then I got involved in politics and things like that. Like totally I would have never known that. And I do credit like hanging out at the shop and interacting with just new people, different people all the time. Like I credit that a lot of me being more extroverted now, because Mike kind of forced you to, right? Like when we would start the fantasy football league, we did things like Mage Night. We did NFL Red Zone, for those of you who remember that. Like you just interacted with a bunch of people in the shop, and it was really like a Cheers. You know, we've always made that reference. Like it was definitely Cheers. I was Norm, obviously.
Well,
Norm.
that also made it easier for me.
Phil was Cliff.
My line of work.
Or Phil.
You know, being
EP was Cliff. I just called you Phil EP.
Cliff Clavin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, just made my job easier. Like becoming a journalist, like, you gotta be able to walk up to people and talk to people. But like having these relationships with these people that, you know, it's not you're not forced to do it through school or whatever. Like to meet with all you guys and talk to you guys definitely made my job easier. Like going into my job easier and stuff like that too.
Who knew I was setting both of you up for success?
Oh no, I was crediting Don. I was crediting Don with that. I don't.
It probably was Don more than. Okay, Paul also wants to know: will we be at the National next year?
We're already looking at
We're
Airbnbs and hotels.
We'll say tentatively yes, but yes.
Yeah. EP, Mr. Tentative down there. We're going.
Listen,
what is it? Like a 4.5 hour drive from here? We're there.
All right.
And it's only like 2 hours from me. So you guys are going to meet here. We're going to get wasted at my place the night before, and then we're going to head to Ohio.
Wow. That sounds like it could be rough.
I mean, I'm not driving, so I mean, we're going to be.
Okay. Next question. Bargain Boxer. Here it is. He wants to know. People want to know. And honestly, I was a little shocked people don't know, but they want to know what the initials EP stand for.
Is it the initials, or do you think they want to know my stances on things?
No,
so I can answer.
I can answer sure
both.
They don't really care about what your thoughts are on anything. They just want to know
global warming. Go.
What those initials down in the little box down or the little circle down there mean.
I mean, do I know?
Yeah.
My name is Eric Pahowick, and the E is for Eric, and the P is for Pahowick. And so,
okay.
That was something we came up with, wasn't it? Were we the first ones to call you EP?
I came up with it. Thank you very much. Do not try to take credit. The story.
You're a 60-year-old man. God only knows if you remember.
No, you're wrong, because we had another customer your age, Eric Leonards, that came into the shop, and Eric Pahowick also came into the shop. So when they were both in there at the same time, if I called somebody Eric, they wouldn't know who I was talking about. So I started calling EP because
and it stuck.
That was the way to differentiate him from the other Eric that came in. And now people around the globe know you as EP. Again, I gave you your whole persona, everything about your life. I have helped you create.
Maybe we should, maybe not quite that much, but yeah, yep.
It's like we were on our podcast this week. We were talking off camera about someone who in the hobby space thinks they're way more important than they are. Mike is like, hold my beer. Let me just. I created your whole persona, EP.
I was the king of Mike's Upper Deck, which was the name of my shop back in the day. So, like, you can't argue that. I mean, I was the man. Nobody came there to see my dad.
More like a ringleader than a king. That's what I would say. More like a ringleader than a king. It was a little bit of a circus. It could be a circus sometimes.
So anything we ever do wrong, EP, we can just say, well, Mike, that's how Mike taught us.
Yep.
Yeah. You got to take the bad with the good, brother.
In handcuffs, put you in the police cars. Like, Mike, is all Mike Lutz. Mike Lutz. Yep. Is that me?
Yep. Your defense attorney can be, well, this Mike Lutz guy. Yeah. He's the one you want to talk to. He was the mastermind of all of this.
King Mike.
Oh, man. Okay. Question from WV Suspect. I don't know, West Virginia, maybe. I don't know. You know, how old are all of you? I'm clearly 32.
With about 35 years of experience. I am the young one of the group. Legitimately the young one of the group.
The
baby of the group. Well, as of this recording, I am 42. In about a month and a half, I will be 43 years old.
And
so old.
I had to do math for mine to make sure that I got it right. I am 47.
Wow.
Which is crazy because you do look the youngest.
I got
You do,
You have
yeah.
a baby
I got-
face.
I got carded a couple weeks ago. I got carded at the liquor store.
Yeah. I did get carded when I was 17. So
Wait, you were buying liquor at 17?
yes,
Whoa,
I
whoa.
look like that. Look at like this bald spot here. That
Yeah.
started about 30 years ago. So I could always pass for an old man.
Yeah, I'm 54. Just turned 54, so I'm old. That's why nobody wants to hear what I say, because I'm an old man yelling at clouds. But let me tell you, it's kind of fun. I don't mind it. I like yelling at the clouds.
There are certain things old people are allowed to be and allowed to say.
Exactly. So I'm getting there. He also wants to know, multi-part question here. What is the most expensive card that you own?
For me, it is probably the 2000 SPX Tom Brady rookie card, numbered is it 1350, I believe, PSA 8. So that's probably right now worth right around $3,000.
Whew.
Yeah.
EP, you have anything worth over $1?
I've got a bunch worth over $1, but I'm not sure if I have anything worth over 500. I haven't graded any of my dad's cards. Like they're my cards now. Like so there might be some in there that, like, there's a couple postcards that are pretty, like there's a Hank Aaron postcard. And there's some really cool cards from his collection. But as far as me, I have a Nolan Ryan, like a 4th year Nolan Ryan card that is, I think it's like a $400 card, something like that. But I don't have, that's not my game. I don't do the really high end stuff. I much rather have like a couple more 1989 Ken Griffey Juniors, which are like $100 card or whatever. So
Of course.
Yeah.
I think mine's probably my SGC4 Gretzky rookie.
That's what I was thinking.
Probably. I mean, it's not super valuable. Probably around $1,000, maybe. I don't know. I don't really look at the values to see, but I have a hard time, because if I have something that's really valuable, like, then I want to sell it. So it makes
You
it
are
really
known as a
difficult.
flipper. You're a big time flipper in the.
Well, the problem
you gotta-
is I was a dealer, and
Right.
you can't be. It's really hard to have been a dealer and like then come back into this and not want to sell cards. I like to sell cards. I like to sell cards to people who are going to enjoy the card that they're buying. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I can like cards but still sell them. Like,
Yep.
some people will totally disagree with that, but you can do the hobby however you want to. And if making other people happy by selling them cards makes you happy, do it. Just do it.
Also,
Yeah.
you can
Go
buy
ahead.
a lot of Paul Heyman cards
A lot of Paul
with
Heyman.
if you saw an expensive card. So
I bought a couple this weekend too. So they
did you?
haven't come in yet, but yes. And he also wants to know, who's your favorite wrestler?
So when I was growing up, it was Hulk Hogan. Like, I was always a massive, Warrior Hogan. I hated the Ultimate Warrior. I hated him. Like, I always rooted for Hogan. I was so bummed out when Hogan lost to the Warrior at WrestleMania. So I was a huge Hogan fan. But then when I started watching wrestling, like when we started going to Mike's house for pay-per-views and things like that, I became a huge Austin fan, like a lot of people did back in those days. Had the t-shirts, had the toys, everything. So it depends on what era you're talking about. But then I never got more excited at a wrestling event that we were at live when the ring announcer said 13-time world and Ric Flair came out. Like, I remember having like goosebumps and chills. So it's kind of a cop-out answer, but it's probably Flair for my entire life. I liked Flair, where with Hogan, I liked him when I was a kid. With Austin, I liked him when we were back into it during the Attitude Era. But for like the length of it, it was probably Ric Flair.
EP, you're not a huge wrestling fan, but you
No.
were into it when you were younger.
yeah, I mean, like initially it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers, but when if it comes down to it, and I got to say, I can only say one, right? Just one. Ultimate Warrior, 100% Ultimate Warrior. Like that's my favorite. As far as the newer ones, like the Austin and Rock were fun to watch, and I didn't really get into. I wasn't like into it deep, but I saw some of their stuff. But yeah, Warrior is my favorite.
I have a
Yeah,
guess.
he used to come over for some of the pay-per-view parties so we could play video games afterwards.
Yeah, it's just the video games. Yeah, just gonna play Mario Kart, a little Mario Kart,
a monkey ball,
a little
super monkey ball. Oh my god.
Okay, let's see. I guess I didn't answer, did I?
Nope. I have my guess for you.
I would have to say of all time, Bret Hart.
Bret
Hart was, I mean, he was one of the best to ever do it in the ring. Like even now, wrestlers will say how great he was and how much they learned from him. Like CM Punk, like gives him a lot of credit. A lot of current wrestlers that aren't the super flippy guys give a lot of credit to him. And like, he was just great. Like he was very believable. And that's what I always liked about him. Like he, like I never felt like, oh, this is just all so phony. He made it look real. He made you believe.
WrestleMania 13 against Austin was one of the greatest matches of all time. And it wasn't all the flippy stuff. It was like, it looked like a real storyline. And the way they built that to the very end, it was just the heel turn, the double turn. I was just...
I was actually just talking about this to Tito Santana the other night about how, how about that? Say that often, but I legitimately was about how how wrestlers making you feel that emotion. That's what it's about, what it was always about. And like a lot of people are like on the joke now and like, oh, we all know it's fake. It's like, yeah, but like if you don't care, what do all those flippy moves and everything? Like I don't have a problem with people doing cool moves. I like watching matches, but I like seeing them do a cool move that the guy doesn't then just pop right back up for and make it like you can't believe it. If you make me believe it, do whatever move you want to do. I'll love it, but make me believe it. So Bret Hart was just one of the best at doing that.
I'm just like when people are unhinged and for interviews, that's all I'm there for. Wrestling's great, but give me the interviews. I'm all about those.
Let's see. We got this question from a couple people. We got it from Dominic Mazzell 9188 and SJ Sports Cars on Twitter. They both basically had kind of the same question. How do you decide what to grade and where to send it? Go ahead, Joe.
So for me, I don't grade as much as I used to. It used to be just to gain value to potentially sell it. I do have over my shoulder here, I have graded some of my Kenny Pickett stuff. When I'm deciding to grade, I think part of it is the value, but then part of it is just the authentication piece. You would think cards coming out of a pack, you really don't have to worry about that, but we've been
Why would you think that?
Right, exactly. But again, I've gotten off of the grading bandwagon a little bit. So the one touches look pretty darn good with some of these cards now. So, but yeah, if you're trying to add value for sure, grade, or if you're trying to authenticate, I don't know, maybe like a Rock Auto, maybe you should probably authenticate that through BGS
Rick?
And not Rick. Rick.
Oh, no, not Rick.
Yeah, you stepped on it. I was saying that. EP probably grades more than both of us combined anymore, which is kind of ironic.
He uses Rick all the time.
He uses Rick every single time he has an autograph.
Yeah, I same deal. Kind of. If there's a lot of value involved, or if I need to get it authenticated, or if I want to, like, I have a couple Brady rookies that are probably like 7 or 8 that I'm probably going to grade just because I don't want to deal with somebody getting it and not liking it. So I'm just going to send those in, like that sort of thing. When I'm grading, it's typically to increase the value. I'm not grading. I have the one basketball. I want to have a graded rookie card of every basketball Hall of Famer that I've seen play since I started paying attention to it. So that's a fun one that I would like. And there are probably a couple other like Peyton Manning and Jamal Anderson rookie cards, some really key cards that I wouldn't mind having graded. But typically when I'm grading, I'm thinking about increasing the value. So it needs to be either vintage. So I mean, just want to get it in a slab, or I think it can go from a $20 card to a $100 card. So looking at value. So that's pretty much, and also it's got to be in really good shape. Like I'm not going to send in something hoping that, this is probably a 9, but it might be a 10. No, I'm going to only send in stuff that I think this better be a 10. So that's my thinking.
Which is a good idea too. And
especially ultra modern, especially with ultra modern.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you don't feel like it could be a 10, like you really need to look at, like if you're trying to increase value, look at it, be honest, and look at the values. Like if 9,
be honest.
If 9 increases the value a lot, like be honest with yourself. if you feel like it should be that grade, send it in. Sometimes you'll get higher, sometimes you'll get lower. You might miss something, you might over analyze something, but yeah, definitely look stuff over and be honest. Like, just don't send it in. There are still people who just pull a card out of a pack,
Right.
throw it in a card saver, and send it off to grade without being
Well,
critical. Like, you want it to be a 10, I understand, but
Mhm.
like, look it over.
I read in a lawsuit that all of Panini's cards come out mint.
Mint.
So you should get at least 9s
That-
on those.
Legally, I believe they just established that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I gotta-
yeah, but I do like you do, EP. Like I talked about, I like to sell cards. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to send it to PSA to increase value. I have a big pile of stuff here now, waiting for maybe they'll do another special that makes sense sometime soon. I'm in no rush with these, but if I'm grading, if I just have something I want for my PC, I'm going to send it to CGC. I like their slab. I like the new label a lot more than, I know it's their third label, but I like it. So their slabs are just so clear. Like, if I'm just going to have a card for me, not super valuable, going to send it in, have it done for like $10. Why not?
Well, that's. Oh, I'm sorry, EP. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say for me, like for myself, probably SGC. I've graded a lot through them. They've had some good deals with some of the more modern stuff. But I feel like I'm happy with the grades that they give me, and I get the cards back super fast. So like that'd be the one that I would choose. SGC. I've had a lot of success with them, and I like them. So I'm a bit of a SGC show. So
I have been using BGS for these Pickett cards that I got just because of their thicker. Like that's a rule of thumb too that people should keep in mind. If it's a thick card, try to avoid sending it to PSA because just assume it's going to get a grade or two less than what you think it should get. But I use BGS and I'll probably use them more. And the reason is I've thought about this before, and we've kind of talked about this in our private text conversations, but it's so weird to me that you put a card in a piece of plastic and a lot of the times it can shake around and it's rubbing up against that hard plastic. I wonder what a chrome card in 20 years pulling out of a PSA slab is going to look like. Like, is it still going to look like a 10? Because that sucker is there's no way that's not getting scratched up in the holder. And what I like about BGS cards is they do have that Mylar sleeve inside. So the card's not moving around.
Some people hate that though.
And some people do hate that because it's not as clear as like you said, Mike, a CGC slab. Those are beautiful. They're crystal clear.
Okay. Mag 537 has a question that we're just going to give to you, Joe. If a quarterback fakes slides, should he lose sliding privileges for A, the rest of the quarter, B, the rest of the game, C, the rest of his career?
Well, since they put a rule in after Kenny Pickett's fake slide that you are down where you start the fake slide, I would say D, go to the Hall of Fame. Like, you had a rule created because of an amazing play in a ACC championship game. I mean, come on. Like, that is in and of itself. That's why I had it memorialized. Like, look at this. It's amazing. So yes, I agree. D, Hall of Fame.
Probably the only way he's going to get into the Hall of Fame.
No, he'll make the College Football Hall of Fame for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Final question. We have the Seatown Funk podcast. I might need to check that out. I don't know what it is, but that name is very interesting. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase here, but he was asking about whether or not the deals that we see the grading card companies making now, they're doing authentications with eBay, they're doing the group sub thing with ComC. If these deals that the grading companies are putting in place in other parts of the hobby are because they aren't getting the number of cards now post hype for grading that they anticipated. I'll start with this. I think the grading numbers, when you look at it, kind of show otherwise. Like I've actually thought that, and I do think that there will be a point where it does start to drop off, but like PSA is still really busy. They did over 1 million cards again in July. So maybe, like, I guess it's kind of hard to answer. Maybe they're getting these deals in case they need that, like for down in the future. But I do think at the moment it's really not because they aren't seeing the demand that they were expecting.
Yeah, we had Dustin on the show this past Monday, and he had dropped a video the day before about the grading numbers and PSA, like you said, like 1.04 million cards or something this
Mhm.
month. I mean, it's a chicken and the egg question, really. Like, are they grading more cards because of specials? Do they need the specials because they're seeing a less of a demand? I think with PSA with the specials, it's more, oh, SGC put a special out. Let's try and play off of that a little bit. PSA seems like a company that would love to squeeze out competition if possible. So it wouldn't shock me if they were putting out specials to increase their numbers by
They
decreasing the numbers.
must be getting busy right now though, because they're running like a 1960s special. Like
Yeah.
that's literally it. So clearly, like I think it's kind of funny with PSA that you say that, Joe. Like I think you can kind of tell if they need cards or if they're getting a little backed up
Right.
by what special they run.
No, it's kind of funny you say they're running like a 1960s, which would kind of be SGC's bread and butter. And SGC's numbers, they just went back into second place. I mean, I'm sure it has nothing to do with anything, but it kind of like makes me chuckle now thinking that SGC went back into second place and PSA decides to run like a vintage type special. I don't know. I thought that's kind of ironic.
So I think the volume of the volume is still there, but I think they are expecting. You have to expect that the volume is going to go down. Like Mike said, like there's just no doubt about it. This just been at such a high level. Fanatics wants to 10x the hobby, but we figured out that they're going to 10x the value in the hobby, not necessarily the collectors. Then the collectors will go up some, but you have to expect that the grading is going to go down. People aren't going to be sending in their base of super like ultra modern stuff. They're not going to be sending in base rookie cards of that forever. And I feel like yeah, so that's my take there. And then also the deals they're making, they're doing that to position themselves in the right place for when all this happens. And also they're also seeing what Fanatics is doing and saying, look at all these moves they're making.
Let's
we should
get
be making
involved
moves
with
too.
everything.
We should be making moves too. And
More
wherever we
irons
can
in
make a
the
partnership,
fire.
make a partnership. Just make it happen. So.
Okay, well, hopefully we answered everybody's questions. I don't know. If you have any more, let us know down below. This was a fun time. I really enjoyed this. How about you guys?
Yeah,
Especially EP. People don't even know how much EP enjoyed this one. But hey, that was fun, and we'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss. I see ya.